and welcome to the New World Review, your source for everything that pops into my head while I'm watching anime. I'm Grandline Waifu, your resident nerdy psychologist, and today we are going deep into the dark web, to watch the hive mind of the hunter kids as they decide to go into hell. With a random man who tells two young boys that it's dangerous if they go further, and do they want to? Of course they do. It's dangerous. Alright, let's get into episode 82 of Hunter x Hunter. 82, and I know I regularly comment on Gon's musculature developing. Now that he's not wearing any form of sleeved shirt, we're seeing that physical shift in him from preteen to preteen with muscles. Killua we never really know about because he does everything he can to hide his presumably pallid skin from view. Every episode for the moment, we're being teased with the concept of Gon killing someone, then having it taken away from us. Even when he attempted to kill someone and perhaps had started to deal with the implications of that, leaving himself vulnerable to attack himself, it was still taken away from us. By comparison, we got to see Killua's killer instincts return in the form of a new ability, or an old one return to us. There's something both heartbreaking and wonderful about watching Killua kill. Heartbreaking because he seems to do it with such reluctance and vocal hesitance, a testament to the voice acting and storytelling. In action, he does what must be done, and we don't know how he feels about it afterwards because we switch perspectives. I use the word wonderful to describe this moment too, in its literal sense of the word. The switch that is flicked when he's actively trying to kill fills me with wonder. The art style in these moments that is so purely his, it's such a sharp shift from the heart eyes he lays upon Gon, and I wonder whether we'll see a situation in which he goes to that place in order to save Gon's life, or if the engagement of that state of mind is the shutting down of all emotion for Killua. His eyes certainly went dead when he realized he needed to kill, losing their pupils and studying his prey. To a large degree, Killua's family unit all fit the molds of these insects and their hive minds. It doesn't matter that his family isn't physically there in the moment. They trained him to do a task and he did it with all the cleanliness expected of his family line. When we think of how Killua was shackled up, the comparison of the queen ant and her home to the mountain of his is actually quite concerningly familiar. And I do wonder whether there's something in those two styles being similar. That humans have made the chimera ants more evil makes me wonder what could happen if a Zoldyck were consumed. Whether Killua would be able to sink into that assassin form and clear his mind of any connection to them, however tenuous. Gon, meanwhile, showed us that he can do more than bash things with a rock now. He can slice them up with scissors. And since that's the direction we're going here, I wonder what will be his paper and how that will come into effect. We don't see the two training, we simply see these new abilities. And while I like the mild surprise on my end that comes from seeing him slice a many-limbed bug in two, I'm constantly in a state of wondering whether they have shown these abilities to each other, and if so, whether they can be used together. That reminds me, Killua mentioned that his transmuter ability tires him. Does that imply his assassin abilities have absolutely nothing to do with Nen? I mean, obviously he learned them beforehand, but no crossover since. I'm gonna keep on the lookout for more information there, because the abilities shown by every other Nen user that I can think of in my limited memory capacity suggest that their abilities interact with each other to create a seamless whole. Killua is still two people. The one he wants to be, and the dark one he is, who he lets out to play sometimes, whether or not he gets a choice. Speaking of dark, I'm starting to see these taboo things getting stronger and stronger. Forcing people to walk on their elbows is not the best way to make sure everyone's having fun. And when it comes to things that people define as dark, my question is always, okay, but is it gratuitous? Torture for the sake of torture, grossness or nudity or sex just for the sake of it? It reminds me of those eggs Uvogan had to pass through his apparently giant schlong. That was unnecessarily gross, like it was just gross. Here, the torture, destruction and humiliation of human life is actually surprisingly clear. It also serves a purpose. Gon reacted. Gon reacts. Human life has a value to him, and that's, you know what, that's a really positive thing for our kid. I'm happy about that. The problem is that the longer he's in this environment, the less I think it's going to matter. Hunter x Hunter's sort of a search for his lost humanity, which it turns out is right behind him and fading the longer he looks for it. For all that he sat on the ground and considered who should live or die in episode 3, he's about to be making those decisions now, and it'll be interesting to see what his choices become. And as for Kite, the more he describes his random clown friend, the more I'm expecting him to reveal that it's Jing who told him to take the ability, because that's the sort of thing he'd do. Meanwhile, I ask again because these are the important questions. Where are these bugs getting these outfits? At first I thought, nah, it's probably just leftovers from the people they've snatched. But when you see Bug Lady wearing the revealing bra skirt skirt combo that looks like none of the clothing the villagers would have worn, and now I'm imagining the NGL darning up their special lingerie, which, power to him. And finally, sing us a song, you're the bunny man. He's got himself some nen. I don't recall him eating someone enticing. Does that mean he's developed it himself? How does this work? I suppose there are some with latent nen, and getting broken down by the boys has led to him being activated. Does this mean Nenny Ant can become a nen user? Something about him reminds me of Hisky. Hisky, but not cool or impressive. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, we'll see, I guess. Let's take a look at episode 83. Some interesting things happened in this episode, but it's going to be sort of hard to discuss and break down because I feel as though I don't have enough context for them, and some of them are really philosophical ideas that are in my head. What I do have context for is the anxiety and tension in my entire body for the entire time the ladybugs were flying around the city. It's sort of like the Vashta Nerada from Doctor Who, which is one of my favourite monsters, and the idea behind them is that you don't need to fear every shadow, but you fear because it could be any shadow that could kill you. The same applies here and taps into a deep generic feeling of disconcertedness that spreads through people's lives. It is not every bug. Most bugs will be bugs, but it could be any bug, and that's the scary thing. There could be any number of queen ants out there who are just not her size, and they could be spreading information through the city. The fact that there are so many specifically ladybugs actually makes that more likely, since Togashi either likes to flag things really early on or just red herring them, and I'm just, tense. The problem is that we know that bugs could be in any form, and we've seen the level of individuality in this colony. And thinking about the kinds of animal mixes we have seen, we have Penguin Peggy and little kitty lion dude, who's not little, but kitty. He's got the cute little tattoo, Sensi. I don't know what they are, but they're cute, If their planet has the same poles and the same weather type as ours, lions and penguins do not come from anywhere near each other. This queen has traveled. Yas, queen. If another queen hadn't, but had a lot of ladybugs available to her, well, ladybugs are plenty. I was surprised that despite being bug people and despite knowing that the insect creation could come from any bug, Bubblegum didn't kill it. And yeah, sure, that's probably me being paranoid, but it's actually only paranoia if bugs aren't out to kill you and eat you. So the tension of that entire scene had me fearing for big metropolises, which the colony have yet to come into contact with. Something I didn't understand was why it would be bad to exterminate the colony now that it's causing danger to human life. Why would the hunters be to blame? In the world that we have here, if something is causing genuine harm to humans, we tend to prioritize that. What is different in their society that says don't do that? Given the size and power and the danger they're posing, wouldn't the intention be to get rid of as many as possible? Why would the hunters be to blame for it? I think I'm really missing something here, so I'm not going to go into it. What I am hoping and expecting, to be honest, is that Hisky and Bunny Boy Ramot will get to play. Oh, I know who Ramot reminds me of. It's not just Hisky. He reminds me of Jace from Dragon Ball Z. All that posturing and grandstanding, I just wanted to appear behind him and just slap him upside the head. Once he punched Colt in the face, and frankly, it's a testament to Colt's buggy self that he still has a face. I simply didn't need any more of Ramot doing Ramot stuff. I'm ready for him to engage in some form of action rather than just bouncing around and showing off his bunny muscles. So while I understand that Peggy was having a moment discussing the situation, my attention wandered until the story began to move on. What I did take in, and what is interesting, is that latent Nen can come from physical harm. Does that mean Gon and Killua have merged with the bugs? Given Gon's reaction at the end of the episode, I wonder if the experience was actually mutual. Gon would be a fantastic addition to the Queen's army. He'd essentially be Colt 2.0. That said, the concern Kite is feeling around Gon wanting to kill those who are traitorous to their kind is incredibly valid. What will Gon do when he meets Colt? He won't kill him. He can't. Not with his own points of view and morals and stuff. His weird morals. Where did he get morals from? And more to the point, it looks like he does have morals. Did he actually kill? Was it that understated? And no, it was a combat sequence and it had its own weight, but I guess I expected him to have more to deal with. Or no, I expect No, I guess I expected us to have more time and space to deal with the fallout of that. Gon could casually kill the Armadillo Boy because Army Boy was mean to his friends, essentially. Friendship, even the declaration of it, can have a very powerful effect on Gon. Things and people with connections to other things and people seem to be sacred to him. The second those concepts are violated, it seems that Gon no longer sees them as deserving of life or deserving of existence, I suppose. The interesting thing about this colony and its development is that they seem to be showing more individualism than we humans do. The development of their society seems to be fracturing and crumbling faster than I'd have expected it to. The captains are losing control of their basic military at an exceedingly rapid pace, and I don't know that it has to do with the numbers of different creatures so much as the fact that they've managed to dial up the self-importance to an extreme amount where survival should be the first concern of animals. I mean, even for humans, survival is the first concern. It's the first thing we worry about. And that self-importance is probably going to be their downfall. They're starting to lose their bugness in the characterization, and that doesn't really make a great deal of sense to me, given a lot of the ants we're following are from the same generation. And I am totally overthinking this from a human development perspective, but that's kind of the discussion and thought that Togashi seems to be trying to get us to engage in. What is humanity? How does it develop? What happens when it's challenged? Is humanity fundamentally right or wrong? Does it matter? Is humanity individuality, or does that behavior come from independent other creatures too? How are these characters influenced by the blends of animal they are? I mean, a cat leading a pride, for instance, that makes sense. I don't understand Bunny Boy, but was he broken by that run-in with Gon and Killua, or elevated? Are they the same thing? Being broken and elevated? Are they the same thing? And they're all themes that I've been considering as this arc progresses. I have so many thoughts at the end of this episode, and that's all they can be. Philosophy is annoying because it rarely has answers, but it poses so many questions, and maybe we'll get some answers next episode, such as why Kite has an ability he hates, but we're not going to get it now because that's it from me. If you enjoyed this journey through my mind and want to hear more, click here, here, and or here. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.